Mesud Sali. As I said, we've been involved in instalment contracts, which is a very niche market, a very niche strategy. Been involved in that for about 3 years plus, making big inroads into that and making massive profits each and every deal. So I'd like you to put your hands together and introduce welcome to start.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Good evening again. Good evening. How are you today? Are you ready to listen to a very exciting talk about negotiating? That's where the money is. So, me and Doug have been working for the last 3-4 years, and we have been in the property business together. So we discovered that you make your money when you meet your sellers. That's when you sit down on the table and get your terms accepted, get your price accepted, get your conditions accepted. That's where the power is. So tonight, I'm going to show you what is the meaning of negotiating. Also, the ideal negotiating environment. Followed by the ideal negotiating steps, which steps we take when we are moving our sellers from prospective sellers to a deal. We're going to show you how you get your desired outcome. We'll show you time versus money. Also, my favorite, the vendor conversion process. How we start the vendor conversion process, how we get them from a complete stranger into a beloved friend, and we do a nice and very profitable deal with them. The first part of that consists with building a relationship with your seller, building trust. The second part is identifying their problem, their motivation, why they want to sell their house, why they want to do a deal with you. What is the real problem? The third part is designing a tailor-made solution for every vendor. So based on their situation, based on their equity position in the property, how do we design a tailor-made solution for each and every seller? Also, when we got the yes, how do we close the deal? Negotiation. Anyone would like to volunteer and give me an idea what negotiation means? Any of you? Come on.
Coming to an understanding that you're both happy with.
Okay. What else?
Getting the price you want.
I like that one. What else?
Communication skill.
Okay. But what's the point of negotiating? What's the end aim?
Like to win something.
Thank you. It's all about winning. Many people think it's like that, winning. Well, negotiating is a dialogue between two or more parties, intended to reach an understanding, resolve a point of difference, or gain an advantage and craft outcome that satisfies both interests. That's how I see negotiating. Well, that's what we started initially when we started our business. We're wrestling arms with our vendors. But later on, we just learned how to smile, how to listen to people, and how to get to the same side of the table and agree much better deals. So, we learned something, the ideal negotiating environment. Playing a away game, a home game. So, traditional investors, when they have an opportunity in their hands, they take a phone call, and usually what they do, go and travel and see the property, do a viewing. Well, we've turned that around completely. Now, what we do is we play a home game. That's my favorite team, Barcelona. They play in their home game and they usually win 6-0. So we want to be winners. We want to win in our home ground. We want to play in our home ground, in front of 90,000 supporters. So that's why we get our sellers in our office, in our place. That's where we have all our paperwork ready, we have all our tools ready, our systems ready, and we can make the deal happen there.
Is that easy to get them in the office?
It is easy if you're good. Mr. Ponsford is top in his segment of getting them in the office. So we're going to show you later on how to do the phone conversation. And how do we sell a meeting? We're not selling the deal on the phone. Right, it's all about actually increasing your conversion rates. So that's why we play a home game. So when we're sitting in front of a seller, we don't want to be sitting in front of 20 sellers to stack one deal. we want to increase our conversion rates. Our conversion rate at the moment is 1 in 3. So every seller that comes in our office, 1 out of 3, we shake hands. And you know we already make 40 to 50,000 pounds per deal. Would you like to have conversion rates like that?
Yeah.
We all do. So now I'm going to go through the ideal negotiating steps. The first step is making a phone call. So your phone rings. In an ideal world, you would like to generate a lead and you'd like the seller to ring you. So it's important to answer the phone call live, rather than you miss the phone call and call them back when they've already forgotten about the idea. So it's very important to have a phone next to you every day, so when it rings you can answer it immediately. Doug, how does that work?
I'll speak the question again. What do you mean by that?
I mean, when somebody rings you
Yeah.
versus when you ring them,
Well,
what's the
when they
difference?
ring me, they're motivated. They've probably seen an ad, seen a leaflet, been recommended to me by a third party. They're motivated. They probably want something.
They want an immediate solution.
Absolutely.
They're hot, they're burning hot. They want an answer to their immediate solution. So it's very important to answer it live. So once you answer that phone call live, you start listening to the problem and start taking notes. You have a nice pad and start writing everything what they say, where the house is, the address of the property, the price, what they're looking for, what's the size of the property, anything and everything that you hear on the phone, you keep writing. Then you are not trying to do a deal on the phone. Oops. You are not trying to offer them a solution on the phone. You are setting the meeting. You want them in our home ground. You want to invite them in our place. So they are our guests now. They come into our office. It's much, much easier to convert them into a deal. And you make a deal, you agree a deal, and then you sign the contracts. If you are at their place and you agree the deal, do you have the contracts? No. Have they got more time to change their mind? Of course. Until the next meeting, somebody else, they may have asked their parents, friends, about, well, I'm trying to sell my house, we agreed to deal with this gentleman and the deal is about this, and they say, well, forget about it, it doesn't sound nice to me. Oh, they change their mind. But when they're in the office, we can seal the deal there and then. That's why it's important always to play a home game. Negotiating is a little bit about strategy as well. So it's not only about the money and the terms, but also planning the whole negotiating process. And we usually plan our strategy based on their circumstances and based on our ideal outcome from the deal. So we usually plan a direction for our negotiation based on the info we collect on the phone. So it's very important again to keep writing everything you hear in that conversation. Doug, what do you talk about on the phone? Is it about the house?
No, it's normally about them. I ask them questions about them, what they're doing in their life, have they enjoyed their day, what they do for a living, what they like to do for a hobby. It's all about them.
So you're building a relationship basically,
Building rapport.
rather than haggle about the price.
Absolutely.
Write this down. Okay, whatever you hear on the phone, don't ever prejudge, because you're going to get a completely different deal than you heard on the phone. So the point is here is not to make a prejudgment and say, well, it doesn't sound like a good deal, forget about it. No, you still get them into a meeting, because if they are committed into a meeting, they are spending life energy, they're committed to come and see you. Obviously they have a motivation. Not everyone is ready to reveal their secrets, to reveal their problems on the first phone call. So give them a second chance. Give them a chance to come and see you and think about it and trust you, and give them another chance to build that relationship with them again. So if they're troubled, they are motivated. That's why we love meeting people in our place, not at their place. Do your research, know your parameters. Always get the full address of the property on the phone. Never miss that opportunity, okay? If somebody is not willing to give you their full address, obviously they're not interested. So always get the full address on the phone and do your research. Find out what's the rental, find out what's the value, and find out if their expectations are realistic. make a couple of phone calls. We usually call estate agents before we meet the seller and find about what's the value, what's the quality of the area, what's the sellability of the house. Okay, every seller is different. We're all different human beings, so we come from different backgrounds. And every seller has a slightly different need, and that's why we have to adopt a slightly different negotiating strategy. Every seller is on a different motivational level. Some people are just ready to do a deal straight away. You don't have to talk to them for hours. They're just there and you can stuck a deal in 5 minutes. Some people will take longer time. They'd like to hear about you. They would like to hear what you've done in the past. They would like to hear what your experience is, and they'd like to discover that whether they can trust you. So everyone is on a different motivational level. Some people will be very easy to tune into. Some people will take more time, and they won't connect with you straight away. Usually, if Doug is struggling to connect with somebody, I step into the conversation and start all over again, and I'm trying to tune into their wavelength. If I'm struggling with somebody and sort of we don't like each other, usually Doug steps in, and it is amazing how personalities match. So unfortunately, we are emotional beings and we're human beings, and we don't match with everyone. So everyone has got a different doctor. Position yourself as a friend, ready to listen, compassionate, ready to be helpful, unconditionally. When you go into a meeting, don't go with the mindset of, I'm going to make profit from this deal, it's all about the price, it's all about the terms. Forget about that. Just go into the meeting and listen. Listen what's their problem. Just think of it like you are a lady from a charity shop, ready to help, unconditionally, at no cost, without charging yourself or anything. Go into that conversation with that mindset. I'm going to do this free of charge for this guy. And you will discover the profits later on. You will discover massive profits later on. Once that person starts trusting you, you will get your questions answered, and you're going to get your prices agreed and your terms agreed. If you build enough rapport, you'll get easy answers to your questions. If you don't, if you struggle with somebody, take a break. Usually we offer them a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, chocolates, and this is another opportunity to start all over again. All over again, to start and build the rapport again. It's that easy sometimes. I usually ask them, what is the lowest price they're prepared to accept? Identify their numbers in their heads, what they realistically think the property is worth. I sat down with a gentleman who had a 2-bedroom house in Greenwich, and he thought his house was worth 155. Realistically, it was worth 320. All right. So some people have got very low expectations for the value of their property. And that's why we always do our negotiations in the office. When they've got low expectations for their price, we sign the deal there and then. We seal it there, so they don't have a chance to ask somebody about the price.
Are there property investors in the room that are negotiating with sellers to buy their property, hopefully at a below market value price, or are we all just paying full market value? Any volunteers? Are we negotiating
Ross?
prices?
Yes, a little bit different. It's a development potential for 5 flats. It's currently 2, so we've had permission to add another 3 stories.
Yeah. Okay, so you're adding value. You're hoping to buy a little bit below value?
Yes, somewhat.
The negotiating skills is that, generally speaking, people do business with people that they like and trust. If they don't like you, don't trust you, then it's very difficult to actually do business with people. So negotiating skills, very,
That's right.
important.
The first cycle of the vendor conversion process is actually building rapport, building a friendship, building trust. I sat down with that gentleman in Greenwich that thought his house was worth 155 for 6 hours, listening his stories about how he was in the military forces in Madagascar and how the Chinese were selling illegal drugs to the Africans, and all these stories about his past. And do you think that was very interesting to me? Of course it was, because I knew that this person loved me, he liked me, and he wanted to talk to me for as long as he can. And I just kept listening, kept listening, and I just become a good listener. I know that the longer time you spend with your sellers, building that relationship, the more discounts you're going to get. Please write this down. Time, spending that trust, building that relationship equals discount, equals excellent terms. Ask questions about how their day been. Talk about the weather. Talk about their favorite subject. I love football. I talk about football with a lot of people. I talk about cars. With certain people will talk about previous stories. Talk about their hobbies. Doug is very good at doing that. So, thank you. Also, the house itself is a very good subject to build rapport around. So tell me about the house. Well, people love talking about their house. What they bought about the house, the furniture, the garden, certain pictures, the fireplaces, the kitchen, the certain areas they spent. Remember, some people, they've spent ages and ages in that house, and all their memories are in that house. So they love talking about certain objects in their property. That's a great way of building rapport around the house. Also, you'll learn information about the house. If there is anything wrong with the house, you know about the size of the house, you know the condition of the house, just by talking about it. Also find about what their dreams and desires are. Where they see themselves in the next 3 to 5 years. Find about where they're going. Listen to their dreams. People love talking about their plans. If you struggle to get answers to a question, ask for permission. Okay? Right. It's all about finding their motivation and problems. And here is the bit we're very, very careful and keep writing. Every answer is crucial. Okay? How long the property has been on the market? How's that been working out for you so far? Did you had any offers? Okay. How many viewings did you have? Well, if you didn't have any viewings, what's the reason for that? How's that been working out for you so far? Okay, it sounds like a good plan. Let's not change it if it's been working well for you. Also, identify what their wants and needs are. All sellers will tell you what they want. They will always want their ideal price. But actually, we are in the business of giving them what they need, not what they want. So they will always accept what they need, but they will always ask for what they want. So, ask them, what are your plans are? What do you immediately need to resolve now in your life just to move on to the next property? Or just to move on with your life? Is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Find out exactly what their motivation is. Ask questions. What happens if you can't sell? What's your plan B? Where are you going next? What would you like to see happen in an ideal situation? The third segment is present the solution. So once we listen to their problems, once we know what their problems is it a debt problem? Is it a matrimonial problem? Is it a problem with dislike about the property? Are they moving abroad? Once you identify what the problem is, now we are about to give them a solution, tailor-made solution for their problem. So we have usually 4 different scenarios. The first scenario is where the property is unencumbered, it's all equity. Then you have a scenario where it's got a small mortgage and lots of equity. Then you have a scenario where it's got lots of mortgage and very low equity. And in certain scenarios, it's upside down, no equity, basically zero cash in the property. So based on those scenarios, we are tailor-making a solution based on the equity position of the property. Okay? So, which is more important to you? Time or money? Doug asks that question very often. Why do you ask that question, Doug?
Well, is time most important or is money most important? Because, you know, in an ideal world you have the best of both worlds, but, you know, in reality you're either going to get all of the money if you're prepared to wait, or if you're not prepared to wait, it's unlikely that you're going to get the best price.
So if time is their motivation, you know they already told you they're prepared to accept a lower price, they're flexible on the terms, they're ready to move quickly. So you can offer them a solution